Next time you're walking through a city, look up. You might be seeing a quiet revolution already happening. It's all about a building material that's super strong, surprisingly sustainable, and, believe it or not, made from something we've been using for thousands of years: wood.
And that brings us to the huge question we're going to dig into today. As our cities need to grow taller and, frankly, smarter, could the answer to a greener future be found not in steel mills and factories, but in our forests?
All right, let's get into it. To really understand why mass timber is such a big deal, we first need to talk about a massive problem that's kind of hidden in plain sight: the environmental cost that's baked right into the buildings we live and work in.
Usually when you think about a building's carbon footprint, you're thinking about, running the lights or the heat. But what about the huge amount of carbon released just to create the thing in the first place? That's what we call embodied carbon. It's all the emissions from making the concrete, forging the steel. It's a massive environmental debt that's paid off before anyone even steps inside.
And this chart, wow, it just lays out how big that debt really is. I mean, look at the bars for concrete and steel, the two materials that have defined our skylines for a century. Now look at mass timber. The difference here isn't just a small improvement, it's a completely different league. It changes the entire equation.
So we've got a serious carbon problem with how we build. It's pretty clear we need a better way. And that's where mass timber comes in. It's an engineered wood product that is totally changing the game. Okay, so the magic behind all this is a technology called cross-laminated timber, or CLT for short. The idea is actually pretty simple but incredibly smart. You take layers of wood and you glue them together. And here's the key, you turn each layer 90 degrees from the one below it. This crisscross pattern creates these massive panels that are unbelievably strong and stable.
So what's the easiest way to wrap your head around it? Just think of it like plywood on steroids. Seriously. It's the same basic concept, just blown up to an industrial scale to create these giant components that can become the floors, the walls, the entire skeleton of a tall building.
Now, being greener is awesome, but the story gets even better. Let's talk about the practical side of things, because this is where developers and architects really start to get excited, and you'll see why this whole idea is gaining so much traction. So when it comes right down to it, you're looking at 3 huge wins for any project. We already saw the massive carbon reduction, but these other 2, speed and weight, these are the real game changers for the construction industry. First, the speed is just incredible. These panels are precision-made in a factory and show up on the job site basically ready to go. The crew just cranes them into place. It's literally like putting a building together with giant, high-tech Legos. The result? A project that goes up way faster, with a lot less noise and chaos in the neighborhood. And then you've got the weight. Mass timber is so much lighter than concrete or steel, and that has this fantastic knock-on effect. A lighter building needs a smaller, less expensive foundation. That not only saves a ton of money and time, but it also means you can build on tricky urban sites where the soil might not support a really heavy structure. But, and this is super important, it's not a magic bullet. You can't just decide to swap out steel for wood and call it a day. Adopting mass timber means adopting a whole new way of thinking about how you build, from start to finish. And what's really interesting here is what that new mindset looks like. You're working with wood, so keeping it dry during construction is priority number 1, right? Fire safety isn't an afterthought. It's engineered right into the design from the very beginning. And because you often leave all that beautiful wood exposed on the inside, every single pipe, every wire has to be planned with surgical precision from day 1. Of course, there's always the big question: what does it cost? And yeah, it's true. The raw material itself can sometimes be more expensive up front. But that is absolutely not the whole story. When you start adding up the money you save from a faster build, a smaller foundation, and maybe even some green building incentives, well, the overall project cost starts to look very, very competitive. So we've seen the incredible promise, and we've done the reality check. Where does all that leave us? Let's try and figure out if this really is the future. Well, all the evidence on the ground points to a major shift. Just look at Canada as an example. British Columbia has been a world leader in this for years. Now, Ontario is seeing this explosive growth in mass timber projects, and Quebec is actually rewriting its building codes to allow for even taller wood buildings. The momentum is real, and it's picking up speed.
This quote just nails it. It perfectly captures the moment we're in. This isn't some niche, experimental thing anymore. Mass timber is actively reshaping our cities, pushing beyond mid-rise buildings and straight into high-rise territory, a world that, until now, was completely dominated by steel and concrete.
Which brings us to this one last powerful thought. As our cities keep reaching for the sky, we have a fundamental choice to make. Are we going to keep building with the materials of the industrial age, things forged in fire? Or are we going to turn to a building material that starts its life as a simple seed? The answer to that is going to define our skylines for generations.